We are witnessing one of the largest wars on innovation happening currently right in front of our faces, yet majority are still asleep at the wheel to even realize how big this is. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. Let's dive on in to this. So I did report on this yesterday, talking more so about the OpenSea fiasco, which is, the SEC targeting OpenSea. Now we're gonna address this, but we are going to build on top of this and actually talk about a much larger problem happening right now within the US. So let's talk about OpenSea getting their Wells notice. Now, this is from the CEO of OpenSea, Deon Finzer. We have OpenSea has received a Wells notice from the SEC threatening to sue us because they believe NFTs on our platform are securities. So it's not just digital assets, it's also NFTs now because they're in a token form. We're shocked the SEC would make such a sweeping move against creators and artists, but we're ready to stand up and fight. Cryptocurrencies have long been in the crosshairs of the SEC, and companies like Coinbase, Uniswap, Robinhood app, Kraken FX, and Consensus have been fighting against the SEC's single-track approach of regulation by enforcement. Love to see Anderson actually making a post here saying that, hey, you decided to leave out Ripple, no surprise, but leaving out the company which had and won the biggest fight in crypto is weak. Good luck to you. And yes, it is weak. I don't understand why Ripple did get left out of this, especially considering the fact that Ripple is probably one of the only companies in this space that have, really kind of put up as much capital as they did in terms of legal fees, fought the SEC for the, longest time in the space, and now is looking as though they are victorious. So I don't understand why Ripple is getting left out, but hey, it is a pattern that has been going on for so long. But regardless, but this is a move into uncharted territory. By targeting NFTs, the SEC would stifle innovation on an even broader scale. Hundreds of thousands of online artists and creatives are at risk, and many do not have the resources to defend themselves. NFTs are fundamentally creative goods, art, collectibles, video game items, domain names, event tickets, and more. We should not regulate digital art in the same way we regulate collateralized debt obligations. As we built OpenSea, we've heard so many stories about the impact of NFTs on people's lives, including student artists finding full-time careers and selling their digital art, indie game developers instantly enabling open markets for their in-game items without having to build marketplaces from scratch, passionate collectors from different corners of the world joining new communities, all centered around shared digital ownership. It would be a terrible outcome if creators stopped making digital art because of regulatory saber rattling. Take, for an example, the suit filed against the SEC by the musician, Song a Day Man, and conceptual artist Brian, I believe that this is Brian L. Fry, which describes their fear that the sale of their art and music could be deemed unregistered securities offerings. In addition to standing on their own ground, we're pledging $5 million to help cover legal fees for NFT creators and devs that receive a Wells notice. Every creator, big or small, should be able to innovate without fear. I hope the SEC will come to its senses sooner rather than later, and that they'll listen with an open mind. Until then, we'll stand up and fight for our industry onwards. Now, like I've said multiple times, it's not an SEC problem. This is much bigger than just the SEC. But building on top of this, Stuart Alderoty, CLO of Ripple, put out, fun fact, in 1976, the SEC ruled that art galleries, even when promoting and selling to buyers that had investment motives, didn't need to register with the SEC. Again, if we go back in history, the SEC is contradicting themselves on multiple fronts. Even as we do look at the Howey test, everything that they have been pushing for the longest time around crypto has been nothing but nonsense and contradictions of themselves. It's ridiculous. But again, this is not where everything stops. Let's go over here to Hester Pierce, which, by the way, one of the biggest jokes around the SEC, Hester Pierce. Everyone loves to support Hester Pierce, but guess what? She is no better than Gary Gensler. We have here from Eleanor Tourette, new SEC Gov Commissioner Hester Pierce says she partly blames herself for how the commission has interpreted the Howey test when it comes to crypto. This is the approximate quote. I blame myself in part for that. Something I could have done differently is to help bring more legal clarity. It's a cautionary tale for other regulators. I think we've got a lot of work to do, both at the SEC and in the industry. Now listen, every single time that I've heard Hester Pierce talk, It's talking about how something she could have done better, but she didn't. It's always like this game of, oh, I should have done this, but I didn't. Or, oh, I could have done this, but I didn't. This does not make her a good person. In fact, it's more so good cop, bad cop. They're working at the same agency. They're no better than each other. The entire SEC is a complete joke at this point. But like I've said, it's not an SEC problem. We have Gary Gensler, Jay Clayton, William Hinman. Like, these are people that were controlled by someone else. Something's going on here. It's not an SEC problem. It's a US government problem. And again, it's all power play. It's all power play for control. That's what they want, control. And we're going to get to the bottom of that. Over here we have from Johnny Deaton. We all know who the captain of the crusade against crypto is, and it's not Gary Gensler. Here's a hint. And yes, it is Elizabeth Warren. She has built an anti-crypto army. But what does it support? It supports the big bankers. This is all around the bankers being supported. Remember that. Over here, a few major representatives. Here we have the aggressive use of regulation by enforcement from the SEC Gov is a blatant abuse of power that erodes trust and transparency in our regulatory system. This heavy-handed approach creates widespread uncertainty and threatens to derail the progress driving digital innovation in the United States. The SEC should choose to work with Congress to craft clear, fair regulations through a collaborative and transparent process that includes public input. Only then can we build a regulatory framework for Web3 that protects consumers and supports digital innovation instead of crushing it. The problem here is that Congress has done nothing as well. Congress wants to sit there and scold Gary Gensler like he is a child and talk about how the SEC has failed, yet do zero to support any action against the SEC, to support any action that could help thrive crypto innovation. No, instead they just want to sit there and play, oh, let me just throw stones at you real quick. That's the game that they're playing. It's all talk, zero action. Over here, we have from the president of the Digital Chamber, Cody Carbone, we have absurd. Let me rant for a second. The SEC's relentless pursuit of NFTs under the guise of regulatory oversight is a farce. For years, the SEC has been fixated on bringing digital assets like NFTs, which are predominantly used for consumptive purposes, within their jurisdiction without any clear legislative mandate. This ongoing crusade by Chair Gensler is not only a blatant overstep, but also a direct threat to innovation and creativity in the digital space. Now, one thing that I've said many times over is the fact that everyone forgets Jay Clayton. Everyone forgets Bill Hinman. Like, what's going on here? It's not Gary Gensler. Yes, he is one of the biggest clowns in the circus, but this is a much bigger problem. But we have, as Commissioners Pierce and Ueda aptly stated in their dissent on the Stoner Cats case, the commissioner or the commission must take care to preserve the ability of artists to sell their work, build a fan base, and involve that fan base in future creative endeavors. It's time for the SEC to recognize the line between protecting investors and stifling artistic expression and innovation. Gensler's actions are a dangerous precedent that threatens to undermine the very fabric of creative freedom in the digital age. Now, one individual that has been putting up facts along this entire landscape has been Caitlyn Long. Now, Cameron Winklevoss, co-founder of Gemini, I'm sure that you guys know who Cameron Winklevoss is, as well as his brother. We have the reset with crypto has turned into an expansion of the war on crypto. This is 100% accurate, and we have this is correct. I can add that the federal banking regulators crackdown has expanded as well, including an action taken by the Fed just last week against a bank that's banking the law-abiding crypto industry, aka Custodia Bank. Custodia Bank has been fighting against the FDIC, the Fed, the SEC for years now. And guess what? Zero progress on that front has happened because they continue to be shut down. The Warren crowd is still in charge and wants us all dead. And this is exactly what they want. Believe it or not, and I know that this sounds extremely, exaggerated, they do want us dead. And who's us? Anyone that is not an incumbent banker or one that is lining the pockets of these regulators and, those that are pushing this anti-crypto crusade. That's who they want dead. They will continue to greenlight BlackRock and Fidelity and JP Morgan and all these big incumbents, because guess what? They're the ones in control. They're the ones lining the pockets. Over here we have, and this is regarding the Fed, FedGov Waller seems perplexed about why users would want fast and cheaper cross-border payments. That's right. It's not just a problem of NFTs or if crypto assets are securities. No, this is a complete attack on the entire industry and what this industry is trying to push forward. Today's consumers and businesses can generally send a payment anywhere in the world, but they all seem to want faster and cheaper global payments, just like we always want faster flights and cheaper airfares. However, I am not entirely convinced that interlinking arrangements will necessarily deliver on those goals. Interesting. Now, Caitlyn Long did respond back to this full breakdown of interlinking faster payment systems. Sadly, Gov Waller ignored stablecoins in his speech. They already solved many of these problems. I wish he had attended Scaramucci's event in Jackson Hole last week. Waller is curious and would have learned something from it. He only sees private JPM coins as worthwhile. See line 3. And if we actually look at this, right? So breaking this down, we have, for example, we have seen a real-time payment system built for wholesale clients that allows clearing and settlement between global clients in seconds with necessary compliance performed upfront in less than 24 hours. Another example is the Swift Global Payments innovation, which offers improved speed and transparency for the businesses customers of participating banks and by their account, has already adopted by 150 banks globally. In mentioning these examples, I'm not intending to endorse certain private sector services. Rather, these newer services are illustrative of how market forces and competition can meet consumer and business demands for more efficient cross-border payments. AKA, hey, we're not going to support any private companies. We don't want to support anything happening around this space. No, we want to support Swift. We want to support the big banks like they always have. This is why there is zero innovation happening from these companies in this space that are building out innovative solutions that could ultimately revolutionize payments. That's the number one reason why payments and, finance as a whole has not pushed forward, because there's so much manipulation, there's so much corruption, there's, so much control in this area that nothing can happen, because those big players like JP Morgan or, BlackRock, Fidelity, these big players, they just want control. They want to continue to get rich off the backs of anyone that is sending money, receiving money, or doing anything. This innovation in this space is being stifled by those that are pulling the strings. It's not an SEC problem. Even though they are a part of it, it is a much bigger problem. And I keep telling you guys this. But also, one of the most sickening things that I have witnessed in this space is this here, this video clip. It's 1 minute and 24 seconds. Caitlyn Long did respond back to this. She said, well, after appearing in a New Yorker story this week, the instigator of the U.S. government-wide crypto crackdown, aka Operation Chokepoint 2.0, Bharat Ramamurthy, spoke for Harris's campaign on CNBC today. Sure looks like Harris is embracing him. Moderate Dems trying to get him out don't seem to be succeeding. And I want you guys to remember that all of those quotes in the last couple weeks about how, the Dems are in support of crypto, they want to support crypto, they're pro-innovation, they're this, that, whatever. Why are they shilling unrealized gains tax at 44% plus? What's going on here? But listen closely to this video. It's about 1 minute and 24 seconds long.
Well, unrealized gains, taxing unrealized gains just doesn't seem fair in any sense of the word. In the very best sense, if you are taxing unrealized gains, all you're doing is pulling forward the taxes that would be paid later when someone actually sells the stock.
I think that this reaction to unrealized gains is a little funny, given that I bet that the majority of people watching right now are already paying a tax on unrealized gains. It's called a property tax. When the value of your home goes up,
it's a use tax.
When the value of your home goes up, you pay higher taxes, even if you don't sell your home.
Your value of your home never moves the way a stock moves, the way something else moves.
That's always the go-to answer.
It's also, property tax is a use tax. You're paying for the schools, you're paying for emergency services. Those are things that make absolute sense.
And sure, and all the revenue that comes in from these unrealized gains taxes and the other taxes in the Harris plan are going to go to creating what she calls more opportunity. It's to make sure that every newborn born in this country gets $6,000.
Using the services.
Well, look, you're arguing that this is some sort of foreign concept that's completely unknown in the U.S. tax code.
It's probably unconstitutional. It's probably, and it was never in anyone's intent
It's not income. It's not an income tax.
And it's never going to happen, probably. Well, I'm not going to say my lifetime.
I wouldn't say that.
Not in Becky's lifetime.
Yeah. So you guys have it. And again, this is the thought process. Oh, because it's happening here, it has to happen here. It's nonsense. And comparing unrealized gains around property taxes to crypto, that's just ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And we have here, okay, every time I tweet about DC things these days, moderate Dems tell me the Harris crypto reset is still coming. I'll reiterate, I hope y'all succeed in soon. We're better off if you do. DC is a sieve. And here we have a history of Barack's power vacuums and how he's taken power. It's all nonsense. Listen, as we really look at what's going on here, yes, if the Dems want to be taken seriously, if Harris wants to be taken seriously, we need that reset. But so far, what this reset has been, and let's go back to it, it's an expansion of the war on crypto, and they want us all dead. And guess what? If this unrealized gains tax passes, we're done. We have over here, let me be clear. If Kamala Harris somehow forces a 25% unrealized capital gains tax, the flight of capital out and subsequent collapse of the US markets would be absolutely breathtaking, and the ultimate result would be far lower tax revenues than we have right now. And yes, this is a national security issue. What we are now witnessing is destruction of innovation, destruction of financial growth. This is a very big problem, and it's all a war on innovation. It's a tax power move. That's all it is. They want control. They want power. They want to push this forward. And as we do look at crypto, let it be known that the crypto war that's been ongoing is not about regulations. It's not about protecting individuals or retail or anything like that. It is about protecting bankers, protecting incumbents. This is a war, and they want the retail sector or anyone that is pushing for the retail sector dead. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.